Makes it sound dirty. I wasn't doing that. I was just busy. Look, it's none of your business anyway. Okay. We're just gonna read the final chapters tonight because I believe we went through this last time. There's only like 30 chapters, and then there's a couple. There's like a few pages of like bonus material, which is just, I don't know. It's interesting. She like writes it from Damon's point of view. Anyway, okay. Hey, what's up, Martin? You're here to pretend to listen to the book again. Okay, that's fine. I can accept that. I do not take offense. Okay, I didn't really get comfortable before I started. I just rushed in here, so I don't actually know what I look like right now. Because I can't see anything. So, also, just let me know if you can't hear anything or whatever. Don't do that thing that you did last time, which was just wait until I finished the entire like 5 chapters and be like, hey, by the way, couldn't really hear you. Your microphone was shit. Like, why you gotta play me like that, fam? Anyway. Okay, here we go. Chapter 26. Hi, Andrew from Scotland. Hi, Mr. Med. Joined just in time. Alrighty. Chapter 26. Honey, are you sure you're feeling okay? Mum hovered over the couch, frowning. She'd been at it all day since I'd woken up. Do you need anything? Some chicken soup? Hugs? Kisses? I laughed. Mum, I'm fine. You sure? She asked, pulling the Afghan over my shoulders. Did something happen at the dance? No, nothing happened. Girl, what do you mean nothing happened? Liar. Nothing, if I didn't count the billion text messages Simon had sent me apologizing for how he'd acted and the attack of the killer aliens afterwards. Nope. Nothing at all. I'm okay. I was tired after spending most of Saturday in a house full of arguing aliens. 2 of them didn't trust me. One of them thought I was going to be the death of Damon. Adam didn't seem to hate me, but he wasn't overly friendly. I'd snuck out before the pizza they ordered arrived. Ash had been right. They were a family, all of them, and I didn't fit. When Mum left for work, I snuggled down and tried watching a movie on sci-fi, but it turned out to be about an alien invasion. Their aliens weren't beings of light, but giant insects that ate humans. I turned the channel. It was pouring outside, so hard I could barely hear anything over it. I knew Damon would be nearby, especially until they figured out how to get me to exert enough energy to fade the trace. All of their suggestions involved the outdoors and extreme physical exertion, which wasn't happening today. The sound of rain was lulling. After a while, my eyes were too heavy to open. As I was about to doze off, a knock on the door jarred me. I threw the Afghan off and padded over to the door. Doubting the Aram would knock, I opened the door. Damon stood there, barely wet, even though rain fell in sheets behind him. There were a few darker dots of grey across the shoulders of his long-sleeve shirt. I bet he used super alien speed. Who needed an umbrella? And why the hell was he in jogging pants? Oh, she noticed the jogging pants. Yes, sis. You need to find out how it ends. You think the butler did it? Great, I'll listen for 30 seconds, get bored and leave, then come back in an hour and pretend to have been here all along. Thank you. Fucking rude. I love you guys too. Okay. I've lost where I'm up to. That's your style, don't hate you. That's fine. I don't hate you guys for not wanting to stick around. What's up? Are you going to invite me in? He asked. Pressing my lips together, I stepped aside and let him in. He moved past me, scanning the rooms. What are you looking for? Your mum's not home, right? I shut the door. Her car's not outside. Oh, sorry. His eyes narrowed. We need to work on fading your trace. It's pouring outside. I moved past him, grabbing the remote to turn the TV off. Damon beat me to it. The thing switched off before I pressed the button. Show off, I muttered. Been called worse. He frowned, and then laughed. What are you wearing? I glanced down, cheeks flaming. One thing I wasn't wearing was a bra. Christ, how could I forget? Shut up. He laughed again. What are they? Keebler elves? No, they're Santa's elves. I love these pajama bottoms. My dad got them for me. His smug grin faded a little. You wear them because they remind you of him? I nodded. He didn't say anything. Instead, he shoved his hands into the front pockets of his jeans. My people believe that when we pass on, our essence is what lights the stars in the universe. Seems stupid to believe in something like that, but when I look at the sky at night, I like to think that at least 2 of the stars out there are my parents, and 1 is Dawson. I mean, wouldn't that be 3 stars? Anyway. Look, I need to stop pretending that I can write this book better. That's not stupid at all, I paused, surprised by how touching that belief actually was. Wasn't it the same as ours, believing our loved ones were in heaven watching over us? Maybe one of them is my dad. His eyes met mine, then flitted away. Well, anyway, the elves are sexy. And a serious, deep moment effectively smashed into nothing. Did you guys come up with another way to fade the trace? Not really. You're planning on making me work out, aren't you? Yeah, that's one of the ways of doing it. I sat on the couch, quickly growing irritated. Well, there isn't much we can do today. You have a problem with going out in the rain? When it's almost the end of October and cold, yes, I do. I plucked up the Afghan and placed it in my lap. I'm not going out there and running today. Damon sighed. We can't wait around, Kat. Baruch is still out there, and the longer we wait, the more dangerous it is. I knew he had a point, but still, running around in the cold-ass rain? What about Simon? Did you ever tell the others about him? Andrew is keeping an eye on him. Since he had a game yesterday, it faded most of his trace. It's very faint now, which proves that this idea is going to work. I snuck a peek at him. Instead of seeing the stoic expression, I saw the one from yesterday morning. Sorry, I'm trying so much to stifle a burp, and now it's kind of stuck. Oh, that was so nasty. I'm sorry. Actually, fuck it. I'm not sorry. Hi, welcome. That was gross, though. Where am I up to? I mean, if you guys thought this book was romantic and sexy, you just wait. Okay. I knew he had a point, but still, running around in the cold-ass rain. What about Simon? Did you ever tell the others about him? Andrew is keeping an eye on him. Since he had a game yesterday, it faded most of his trace. It's very faint now, which proves that this idea is going to work. I snuck a peek at him. Instead of seeing the stoic expression, I saw the one from yesterday morning. The look in his eyes before he realized he was in bed with me. My body warmed. Stupid hormones. He reached behind him and pulled out the obsidian blade. This is another reason why I stopped over. The obsidian was shiny, glossy black, as he laid it on the coffee table. It wasn't glowing or mottled red, like it had been when near the arum. I want you to keep this with you, just in case. Put it in your backpack purse, or whatever you carry. I stared at it a moment. Seriously? Damon avoided my eyes. Yeah, even if we manage to get the trace to fade, keep this on you until we finish off Baruch. Haha, till they finish off Baruch. Sorry. Inner probes. But don't you need it more than I do? D? Don't worry about us. Harder said than done. I stared at the Obsidian, wondering how in the world I was supposed to stash this thing in my bag. Do you think Brooke is still here? He's still around, yes, he stated. The beta quartz throws our presence off, but he knows we're here. He knows I'm here. Do you think he's going to come after you? For some reason, my stomach got tipsy at the thought. I killed 2 of his brothers and gave you the means of killing the third. He was totally at ease discussing the fact that there was a deranged alien out to kill him. He had balls. I liked that about him. Aram a vengeful creature's kitten. He won't stop until he has me, and he will use you to find me, especially since you came back. They've been on Earth long enough to recognize what that can mean, that you would be a weakness to me. Oh, it's, with great power comes great responsibility, and also you can never, ever love anybody because people around you, they're just gonna die. That's what I learned from Spider-Man. Spider-Man 3? Sorry, I digress. I'm not a weakness. I can handle myself. He didn't respond, but the intensity in his gaze seared me to the core. My confidence crumbled piece by piece. To him, I was a weakness, and maybe even Dee believed that. The rest of the Luxon sure did. But I killed an Aram, while his back was to me. Not like I'd been ninja stealth. Enough talking. We have stuff to do now, he said, glancing around. I don't know what we can do in here. That will make a damn bit of a difference. Maybe jumping jacks. Jumping jacks without a bra was so not going to happen. Ignoring him, I opened up my laptop on the coffee table and checked out my last post. I filmed an in my mailbox after I'd gotten back yesterday, needing the comfort of books and my blog to remind me what normal felt like again. It was short since I only had 2 books, and I look like crap. What had possessed me to wear pigtails? I think that sometimes when I have my hair in certain ways and then I see my streams and I'm like, what possessed me to do this to my hair today? Anyway, I feel you. What are you looking at? He asked. Nothing. I went to close the lid, but it wouldn't budge. Stop using your freaking object thing on my laptop. You're going to break it. He cocked an amused brow and sat beside me. I still couldn't close it. And the mouse wouldn't move. I couldn't even shut the damn website. Leaning forward, Damon tilted his head to the side. Is that you? What does it look like? I hissed. A slow smile crept over his face. You film yourself? I took a deep and slow breath. You make it sound like I'm doing a live perv show or something. I'm sorry, I can't. That triggers me. Damon made a sound in the back of his throat. Is that what you're doing? That was a stupid question. Can I please close it now? I want to watch it. No. The idea of him watching me geek out over books I'd bought in the last week horrified me. There was no way he'd understand. Damon cast me a sidelong glance. My eyes narrowed as I turned back to the screen. The little arrow moved over the page and clicked on the play button. I hate you and your freaky alien powers, I muttered. A few seconds later, the video started, and there I was, in all my book nerd glory, shoving cover after cover in front of my crappy webcam. A few books showed, and I even worked in a totally cool Diet Pepsi product placement. Thank God I wasn't singing in this video. I'm so not triggered, but okay. I sat there, arms folded, and waited for the inevitable slew of smartass comments. Never in my life did I hate Damon more than at that moment. No one I knew in real life paid attention to my blog. Blogs are a passion I shared with my virtual friends, not Damon. It wigged me out knowing he was watching this. The video ended. Voice low, he said, "You're even glowing in the video." Mouth clamped shut, I nodded, and I waited. You really have a thing for books. When I didn't respond, he closed the laptop without touching it. It's cute. My head whipped around to him. Cute? Yeah, it's cute. Your excitement, he said, shrugging. It was cute. I think my jaw hit the carpet. But as cute as you are in pigtails, that's not going to do anything to fade that trace on you. He stood and stretched. Of course, his shirt had to ride up, drawing my eyes. We need to get this trace off you. I was still stunned over the fact he hadn't made fun of me, rendered speechless by it, shocked to the core. He just earned a few bonus points. Bonus points, sorry. The sooner we get the trace off you, the less time we have to spend together. And there went the points. You know, if you hate the idea of being around me, why doesn't one of the others come over here and do this? I actually prefer any of them to you, even Ash. You're not their problem. His eyes locked with mine. You're my problem. My laugh was harsh. I'm not your problem. But you are, he reasoned gamely. If I had managed to convince Dee not to get so close to you, none of this would have happened. I rolled my eyes. Well, I don't know what to tell you. There isn't much we can do in here, and that's going to make a difference. So we might as well count today as a loss and spare each other the pain of breathing the same air. He shot me a bland look. Oh yeah, that's right. You don't need to breathe oxygen. My bad. I shot to my feet, itching for him to be out of my house. Can't you just come back when it stops raining? No. Damon leaned against the wall, folding his arms. I want to get this over with. Worrying over you and the Aram isn't fun, kitten. We need to do something about this now. There are things we can do. My hands curled into fists. Like what? Well, the jumping jacks. For an hour or so, that should do it. His gaze dropped. Something flickered in his eyes. You may want to change first. The urge to cover myself was so strong, but I resisted. I wasn't going to cower from him. I'm not doing jumping jacks for an hour. Then you could run around the house, up and down stairs. He paused, his smug grin turning wicked as his eyes met mine. We could always have sex. I hear that uses up a lot of energy. My mouth dropped open. Part of me wanted to laugh in his face. There was a part of me offended that he would suggest something so ridiculous, but there was another part that liked that idea. Yeah, no shit, girl. Which was so wrong. It wasn't even funny. It was funny. Damon waited. That will never happen in a million years, buddy. I took a step forward, raising my pointer finger at him. Not even if you were the last... Wait, I can't even say last human on the face of this earth. Kitten, he murmured lazily, a clear warning in his eyes. I ignored it. Not even if you were the last thing that looked like a human on the face of this earth. Got that? Capiche? He tilted his head to the side, and several locks of hair slid over his forehead. Damon smiled, a wealth of danger in the tilt to his mouth, but I was on a roll. I'm not even attracted to you. Lie, ding ding ding, lie. Not even a little bit. Damon was in front of me in a flash, not an inch from my face. I'm what? Ignorant, I said, taking a step back. And he matched my step. Arrogant, controlling. I took another step back, but he's still in my personal space, and then some. And you're a jerk. Oh, I'm sure you can do better than that, kitten. His voice was low as he inched me backwards. I barely heard him over the pounding rain and the thundering of my heart. Because I seriously doubt you're not attracted to me. I forced a laugh. I'm totally not attracted to you. Another step forward on Damon's side, and my back was against the wall. You're lying. This is great. This is the fucking content y'all come on here to watch. And you're overconfident. I inhaled, but all I smelled was him. And that did funny things to my stomach. Bro, you gotta wash. Sorry. You know, the whole arrogant thing I mentioned, not attractive. Damon placed his hands on each side of my head and leaned in. A lamp was on the side of me, and the TV on the other. I was trapped. And when he spoke, his breath danced over my lips. Every time you lie, your cheeks turn red. Nuh-uh. Not the most eloquent thing I'd ever said, but it was the best I could come up with. His hands slid down the wall, stopping beside my hips. I bet you think about me all the time, non-stop. You're insane. I pressed back against the wall, breathless. You probably even dream about me. His gaze lowered to my mouth. I felt my lips part. I bet you even write my name in your notebooks over and over again, with a little heart drawn around it. I laughed. In your dreams, Damon, you're the last person I think. Damon kissed me. There wasn't a moment of hesitation. His mouth was on mine, and I stopped breathing. He shuddered, and there was a sound from the back of his throat, half growl, half moan. Little shivers of pleasure and panic shot through me as he deepened the kiss, parting my lips. I stopped thinking. I pushed off the wall, sealing the tiny space between us, pressing against him, digging my fingers into his hair. It was soft, silky. Nothing else about him felt that way. I sparked alive. My heart swelled to the point of near bursting. The rush of sensations crawling across my body was maddening, scary, thrilling. His hands were on my hips, and he lifted me up as if I were made of air. My legs wrapped around his waist, and we moved to the right, knocking into a floor lamp. It toppled over, but I didn't spare another thought. A light popped somewhere in the house. The TV turned on, then off, back on. Our lips remained sealed. It was like we couldn't get enough of each other. We were devouring one another, drowning in each other. We'd been building up to this for months, and oh my god, was it worth the wait? And I wanted more. Lowering my hands, I tugged at his shirt, but it was stuck under my legs. I wiggled down until my feet were on the floor. Then I got a hold of his shirt and yanked it up. He broke apart long enough to pull it over his head and toss it aside. His hands slid around my head, pulling me back to his mouth. There was a cracking sound in the house. A fissure of electricity shot through the room. Something smoked, but I didn't care. We were moving backwards. His hands were moving down, under my shirt, his fingers skimming over my skin, sending a rush of blood to every part of my body. And my hands went down. His stomach was hard, dipped and rippled in all the right places. And then my shirt joined his on the floor, skin against skin. He hummed, brimming full of power. I ran my fingers down his chest to the button on his jeans. The back of my legs hit the couch, and we went down. A tangle of legs and hands, moving, exploring. Our hips were molded together, and we moved against one another. I think I whispered his name, and then his arms tightened around me, crushing me against his chest, and his hands slid between my legs, and I was swimming in raw sensations. So beautiful, he murmured against my swollen lips. And then he was kissing me again. The deep kind of kisses that left little room for thought. There was only feeling and wanting, that was all. I wrapped my legs around his hips, pulling him closer, telling him that I wanted what I wanted with my soft moans. Sorry, guys. Our kisses slowed, becoming tender and infinitely more. It was like we were getting to know each other on an intimate level. I was breathless and dazed, unprepared for all of this, but my body ached for more than just his kisses and touching, for more of him. And I knew he did too. His powerful body shook like mine. It was easy to get lost in him, lost in this connection between us. The world, the universe, ceased to exist. And then Damon stilled, his breath coming out in rough gasps as he pulled back, lifting his head. My eyes opened, slowly dazed. His pupils were white, glowing from within. Damon took a deep breath. An eternity seemed to pass as he stared down at me, his eyes wide. And then he pieced himself back together, The light went out. His jaw hardened. A mask slipped from his face. The arrogant half smile I disliked so much tipped up at one corner of his swollen lips. Your belly glowing now. I love the awkward giggling. You missed chapter 1. You start again. Fuck off. Anyway, that was so awkward to read, actually. Like, I'm not even kidding. That was like, I barely made it through that. I just was like inside cringing. I could not. Anyway. No. Sorry. I must seem like I'm mad. I'm just kind of laughing. Seemingly at myself. Okay. Chapter 27. All right. I hated Damon Black, if that was even his real name, with a vengeance that equaled the soul power of 1,000 suns. You're barely glowing now. He left after that, grabbing his shirt off the floor and sauntering out of my house. The son of a bitch blew up my laptop. That was what had been smoking. Excuse me. His alien motor apparently had a major effect on lights and most electronics. Now I had to rely on school computers to update my blog. Oh no. And I'd spent a good hour after I peeled myself off the couch, replacing light bulbs in the house. Luckily, the TV hadn't been fried, but my brain had. What was I thinking? Doing? It had to have been all the arguing between us. That was the only explanation for why there was such a massive explosion from such a heavy makeout session. And he wasn't as unaffected as he pretended. No one could fake that. I think she means his boner. I think she means his boner because it's in italics, guys. My glow had faded to a small trace, much to everyone's amazement. Imagine trying to explain how that happened. And I'm sure he couldn't wait to share the info. I hated him. Not just for the fact he'd proven me a liar, or that I now had to wait until my birthday for a new laptop, or the fact that Dee was highly suspicious of how my glow faded, but because of what he made me feel, for making me admit it out loud, too. And if he poked me in the back with the pen one more freaking time, I was going to throw him in front of an arm. My cell phone buzzed in my backpack as I walked to my car, hunkered down against the unforgiving wind sweeping down from the rocks. Without looking, I knew it was another text from Simon. For the last week, he'd been texting his apologies over and over again. He didn't dare talk to me in class or public, not with Damon's threat looming over his head. I wasn't forgiving him anytime soon. Drunk or not, it wasn't an excuse for being an overbearing ass who didn't understand the word no. Katie. I jumped at the sound of Dee's voice. Shouldering my bag, I turned and waited. As always, Dee looked amazingly beautiful. Today she'd worn skinny dark denim jeans and a lightweight turtleneck. With her glossy black hair and bright eyes, she was stunning. Her smile was wide and friendly, but it quickly faded as she neared me. Hey, I didn't think you were going to stop, she said. Sorry, I was lost in my thoughts. I started walking again, spying my car. What's up? Dee cleared her throat. Are you avoiding me, Katie? I'd been avoiding all of them, which was hard. They lived next door. They were in my classes. They sat with me at lunch. And I missed Dee. No. Really? Because you haven't been very talkative since Saturday, she pointed out. Monday you didn't even sit with us at lunch, claiming you had to study for a test. Yesterday, I don't think you said 2 words to me. Guilt twisted my insides. I've been out of it. It's too much to ask, isn't it? Oh, it's too much, isn't it? What we are. Her voice was small, childlike. I was afraid this would happen. We're huge freaks. You're not freaks, I said, meaning it. You guys are more human than you give yourselves credit for. Dee seemed relieved to hear that. She darted in front of me. The boys are still looking for Brooke. I sidestepped her and opened my car door. The obsidian blade bounced around in the compartment on the side of the door. Carrying it in my backpack had made me feel like I was going to shank a student or something. So in my car it went. That's good. She nodded. The boys are going to continue searching and keep an eye on things, and both you and Simon barely have any traces on you now. Dee paused. I'd still like to know how that happened so quickly. My stomach twisted. Yeah, there was a lot of physical activity. Her brows inched up to her forehead. Katie? Anyway, I said quickly. That's all good. The trace fading for Simon, especially since he has no clue about any of this, so I'm glad. Creepiness aside. You're rambling, she said, grinning. Yeah, kind of. So what are you doing tomorrow? She asked, hopeful. It's Saturday and Halloween. I thought maybe we could rent a bunch of scary movies. I shook my head. I promised Lisa I'd give out candy with her. She lives in the subdivision, so... Hurt flickered over Dee's face. What was I doing? Dissing a friend because of her jackass brother? That wasn't me. I can come over afterward, and we can watch movies if you want. If you want, she whispered. Leaning over, I hugged her slim shoulders. Of course I want. Just make sure you get tons of popcorn and candy. Those are a requirement. Dee returned the hug. That I can do. I pulled back, smiling. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow night then. Wait, she grabbed my arm, her fingers cold. What happened between you and Damon? I willed my face blank. Nothing happened, Dee. Her eyes narrowed. I know better, Katie. You would have had to do major running around to burn off most of that trace in one afternoon. Dee. And Damon has been acting grumpier than normal. Something happened between you two. She brushed her hair out of her face, but the curls sprung right back. I know you said you guys didn't do anything that one time, but... Seriously, nothing happened, I promise. I climbed into my car, forcing a smile. I'll see you tomorrow night. She didn't believe me. I didn't believe myself. But what could I say? Admitting that went down between Damon and me wasn't something I wanted to share with his sister. Yeah, talk about awkward. Oh, thank you for the award. You don't seem to be blushing too much. No, I'm not. I'm rather out of breath, though, from talking so much. I just need to have a drink and take a quick breath. I think I've been talking really fast the last few days. Or maybe just talking too much. Fuck, I think this book is just taking it out of me. We might have like a bit of a break before we get to the second book. Guys, just remember, there are 5 books in this series. This is just the first one. And they only get thicker. I'm so sorry. Every Halloween I missed being a kid, getting to dress up and eat tons of candy. The only thing I got to do now was eat tons of candy. Not half bad. Well, it's not half bad. Lisa laughed as I dug out another box of nerds. Nerds. Guys, I'm going to digress a little bit. Best candy? Nerds ropes. Fight me. Seriously, Nerds ropes are so good. Anyway, back to the story. What? I elbowed her. I love those things. And Minnie has... I'm sorry, guys. It's fun. I just have the giggles. And mini Hershey bars. Kit Kats, bubblegum, Starburst. Look who's talking. I gestured to the pile of wrappers on the steps beside her feet. You're a freaking candy monster. We stopped while a small child shuffled up the steps dressed like a member of KISS. Odd costume choice. Trick-or-treat, the little boy cried. Sorry, I said that really strangely. I said that like he was an adult that was just like, what up, trick-or-treat, motherfuckers? It probably sounds more like, trick-or-treat! The little boy cried. Lisa fawned over him and gave him several pieces of candy. You are so not here for the kids, she said, watching the little boy run back to his parents. I popped a piece of caramel in my mouth. What gave you that idea? Did you think that little boy was cute? She moved the bowl away from me. I shrugged. Guess so. I mean, he kind of smelled like, I don't know, kid. Lisa, Lisa busted out laughing. Do you like kids? Oh no, I'm getting triggered, guys. Kids scare me. A mummy and vampire approached us. Lisa cooed over to them, and they scampered away. Especially the little ones, I continued, scowling when I saw there weren't any nerds left. They jabber and stuff, and I have no idea what they're saying, but your little brother is super cute. My little brother craps himself. I laughed. Well, maybe it's because he's only like 1. Whatever, it's still gross. She handed some candy over to a cowboy with an arrow through his head. Sweet. So, what's your deal been? My deal? Like a ninja, my hand shot out and snatched a roll of Smarties. I don't have a deal. You're so full of it. It was so dark out, I couldn't make out her eyes. Her subdivision didn't believe in street lamps. You've been an angst-ridden teenage girl, like the kind in the books I've read all week. I rolled my eyes. Have not. She nudged me with her knee. You haven't been talking to anyone, especially not Dee, and that's weird because you guys are close. We still are. I sighed, squinting into the encroaching darkness. Shapes of parents and their kids walked along the side of the streets. I'm not mad at her or anything. I'm going over to her house after I leave here. Lisa cradled the ball. But something happened with her brother, I said. That was a really weird intonation. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. It made the thing more confusing. You know what? I make no apologies. There are only happy mistakes. Let's just move on. But something happened with her brother, I said, caving into the need to talk to someone about what happened. I knew it. She screamed. Oh my god, you have to tell me everything. Did you guys kiss? Wait, did you have sex? A parent of a fairy shot her a dirty look. A dirty look as she ushered her child off Lisa's porch. Lisa, seriously, chill. Whatever, you have to tell me. I will hate you forever if you don't. What does he smell like? Smell like? I scrunched up my face. You know, he looks like he'd smell good. Oh, I closed my eyes. Yeah, he does smell good. Lisa sighed dreamily. Details. Now. It's nothing big. I picked up a fallen leaf, twirling it. My lips tingled, thinking about his kiss. Oh, which lips, girl? He came over last night. He came over last Sunday and we kissed. That's all? She sounded so disappointed. I didn't sleep with him. Geez. But it was pretty heavy. I dropped the leaf and ran a hand through my hair, tugging it back. We were arguing, and the next thing I know, bam, we're going at it. Geez, that's hot, I sighed. Yeah, it kind of was. But then he left abruptly. Of course, because you guys have this fiery passion that explodes, and he couldn't take the heat. I gave her a bland look. We don't have anything. Lisa ignored me. I was wondering how long it would last with you two antagonizing each other. I don't antagonize him, I muttered. What did you guys argue about? How could I explain that we'd only goaded each other into doing something because I'd said I wasn't attracted to him and that he needed to kill my glow? Yeah, not happening. Katie? I don't think he meant to kiss me, I said finally. What? Did he slip and fall on your mouth? Those things are known to happen. I giggled. No, it's just that he seemed pissed off about it afterwards. No, he was pissed. Did you, bite his tongue or something? Lisa tucked her hair back, frowning. There has to be a reason why he was so mad afterward. Since it was getting late and the kiddos few and far in between, I grabbed the bowl from her and started fingering through the leftovers. I don't know. I mean, we haven't talked about it. He literally left afterwards. And all he's done since then is poke me with his pen. Probably because he wants to poke you with something else, she said dryly. My eyes bugged. I can't believe you said that. Whatever. She waved her hand in the air. He's not back with Ash, right? I mean, those two are. On and off, I know. I don't think so. It doesn't matter. I popped a piece of candy in my mouth. At this rate, I was going to be rolling off Lisa's porch. It's just that you like him, she finished for me. I shrugged, moving on to a Snickers bar. There's a lot of sneaky little probably not paid for advertisements in this book. Obviously, I'd been seconds away from getting butt naked with him. It's the most messed up thing ever. No one on this planet pisses me off more than him. But I don't want to talk about this. I snatched a bag of Skittles back. Anyway, how are things with Chad? You're changing the subject. I'm not fooled. Looking up, I rooted around the bowl. You guys went out last night, right? Did he kiss you? Does he smell good? Chad does smell good, actually. Chad. I think he wears a newer version of Old Spice. Like, not the kind my dad wears, because that would be gross. That would be gross. That would be so gross. Sorry. I laughed. We chatted for a little while, and then I left and headed home. Dee had the entire house. Dee had the entire house decked out in carved pumpkins that hadn't been there when I left earlier. She pulled me aside. A strange smell in the air. What is that? I wrinkled my nose. I'm baking pumpkin seeds, she exclaimed. Have you tried them? I shook my head. No. What do they taste like? Like pumpkin? Of course, she was actually baking them. The pale seeds were on a baking sheet, but it was her hands doing the baking, and not the stove. Pumpkin guts were scattered all over the newspaper-covered table. I'm going to borrow your hands during the winter. When ice is caked on my windshield. Dee laughed. I have no problem with that. Grinning, I shuffled over to the stack of movies on the counter. I scanned the spines, laughing. Oh my god, Dee, these movies are awesome. I thought you would like the combination of the Scream and Scary Movie series. She moved her hands over the baking sheet. The seeds popped and jumped. Cinnamon filled the air. We'll leave the Halloween movies until last. Halloween being the series. Sorry. I know you guys can't read italics. I should probably put more emphasis on these things. But I won't, because fuck you guys. I glanced at the door. Is Damon here? No. She grabbed the sheet, dumping the seeds into a bowl decorated in bats and skulls. He's out with the guys, seeing if they can get Brooke to show himself. Taking our snacks and movies into the living room, I thought about what she'd said. Are they purposefully trying to get him to show himself? Like they want to fight him? A DVD flew from the stack to her hand. She nodded. Don't worry. Damon and Adam are checking around town. Matthew and Andrew are out in the country. They'll be okay. Unease turned my stomach. Are you sure? Dee smiled. This isn't the first time they've done something like this. They know what they're doing. It'll be okay. Sitting back against the couch, I tried not to worry. It was hard, especially since I'd seen the look in Brooke's eyes. Dee settled in next to me, and I tried a few pumpkin seeds. Not bad. We'd made it through the first Scream movie when her cell rang. Raising her hand, Dee flicked it, and the cell flew off the table and landed in her hand. She answered with a roll of her eyes. This better be good, Damon, because... Her eyes widened. She shot to her feet, her free hand clenching. What do you mean? My stomach turned to liquid as I watched her edge around the coffee table. Katie's with me, but her trace is barely noticeable. Another pause, and then her face paled. Okay, be careful. I love you. As soon as she tossed the phone to the recliner, I stood. What's happening? Dee faced me. They spotted Baruch. He's headed this way. Chapter 28. Whew, we're getting real close, guys. We're on page 325 out of 377. We're almost there. I know it's a bit of a slog, but we'll get there. Oh, thanks for the super heart. Hello. How is the party going? Oh, this is barely a party, my dear. Barely a party. um Sorry, guys. I don't even know who's still here. Anyway. Chapter 28. Sorry, guys. Of course, that didn't mean he was coming right here, but there was a chance, a big chance, that he was. Enough so that Dee prowled the length of the living room like a caged tiger. She wasn't afraid, but ready to battle. If Brooke comes here, can you fight him? I asked. Dee passed me a steely look. She was a totally different person, morphing into a badass warrior princess. How come I've never seen this side of her? I'm not as quick or as powerful as Damon, but I'm able to hold my own until Damon gets here. My stomach dropped. Hold your own wasn't enough. What if Damon didn't get here in time? Dee stepped in front of the window, her slim shoulders squared. It hit me all at once. Everything Damon had been worried about was coming true. I was a weakness, a liability to Dee. I wouldn't let that happen. Is my trace strong enough that he'd see inside your house? She paused. Not really. What about from the main road, the woods? There was a pause. I don't know, Katie, but I'll stop him before he gets to you. No, I have an idea. I stepped forward, almost knocking over the stack of DVDs. It's kind of crazy, but it could work. Her eyes narrowed. What? If you make my trace stronger, I can definitely lead him away from here. Then he won't come here. And Damon? Absolutely not, she said, whirling around. Are you insane? Maybe, I said, biting my lip. Look, it's better than sitting here with me, when I could very well lead him right back to your house. And then he'll know where you guys are. And what then? You won't be safe. I need to lure them away from your house. No, Dee shook her head. I can't do that. I can fight. There's nothing else we can do. I can't fight him, and what if he escapes? What if he tells others where you live? Damon's words came back to me. You would be a weakness to me. Except I wouldn't be his weakness. I'd be Dee's. I couldn't live with that. And I'll be a liability. Baruch will know that. You have to stay here. If Baruch finds us together, he'll use me to destroy you. The best plan is for me to lure the Aram away and let the guys meet me back in the field and take them down together. Katie, I'm not taking no for an answer. We don't have much time. I moved to the door, grabbing my keys and cell phone. Light up, do the crazy balls of light thing. That seems like it worked last time. I'll head to where the field party was. Tell Damon that's where I'm going. When she stood there, staring at me, I yelled, Do it! This is insane. Dee shook her head, but she stepped back and started to blur out. A second later, she was in her true form. A beautiful silhouette of light. This is insane. Her voice whispered in my thoughts. I stopped thinking. Hurry. 2 balls of cracking light formed in her outstretched arms. They shot around the room, blowing the lights and the TV, but ended up bouncing off the walls harmlessly. The fine hairs on my body stood as static filled the air. Am I glowing? I asked. Like the sun. Well, that worked. Taking a deep breath, I nodded. Call Damon and tell him where I'm going. Be careful. Please. Her light began to fade. You too. I turned and raced out of the house toward my car before I could think twice about what I was doing. Because this was absolutely insane. The craziest thing I'd ever done. Worse than giving a 1-star review. Scarier than asking for an interview with an author I'd give my firstborn to eat lunch with. More stupid than kissing Damon. But this was all I could do. My hands were shaking when I shoved the key into the ignition and backed out the driveway, narrowly missing Dee's Volkswagen. I hit the gas, squealing out onto the main road. I was clenching the steering wheel like a granny, but driving like I was trying out for NASCAR. Don't anybody say anything about my driving. I kept glancing in my rearview mirror as I flew down the highway, expecting to find Aram chasing after me. But every time I checked, the road was empty. Maybe this hadn't worked. Oh God, what if Baruch continued to the house and found Dee? My heart leapt into my throat. This was a stupid, stupid idea. My foot faltered on the gas pedal. At least he wouldn't be able to use me to get to Dee. My cell rang from the passenger seat. Unknown caller? Now? I almost ignored it, but I grabbed it and answered anyway. Hello? Are you freaking out of your mind? Damon yelled into the phone. I winced. This has to be the stupidest thing. Shut up, Damon, I screeched. The tire swerved a little into the other lane. Sorry. It's done, okay. Is Dee okay? Yes, Dee's okay, but you're not. We've lost him, and since Dee said you're glowing like a goddamn full moon right now, I'm betting he's after you. Fear spiked my heart rate. Well, that was the plan. I swear on every star in the sky, I'm going to strangle you when I get my hands on you. Damon paused, his breath heavy on the phone. Where are you? I glanced out the window. I'm almost to the field. I don't see him. Of course you don't see him. He sounded disgusted. He's made of shadows, of night, Cat. You won't see him until he wants you to. Oh, well, shit. I can't believe you did this, he said. My temper snapped under the fear. Don't you start with me. You said I was a weakness, and I was a liability back there with Dee. What if he came there? You said so yourself he'd use me against her. And this is the best I could do, so stop being such a damn jerk. There was a gap of silence. I thought he'd hung up on me, but when he spoke, his voice was strained. I didn't mean for you to do this, Cat. Never something like this. His voice sent shivers through me. My eyes darted over the blurred shapes of trees. I drew in a deep breath, but it got stuck. You didn't make me do this. Yeah, I did. Damon, I'm sorry. I don't want to hurt you, Cat. I can't live with that. Another stretch of silence passed while his words sunk in, and then, stay on the phone. I'm going to find a place to ditch the car, and I'll meet you there. It won't take more than a few minutes to get there. Don't get out of the car or anything. I nodded as I pulled the car to a stop inside the field. The moon rolled behind a cloud, turning everything pitch black. I couldn't see anything. A horrifying, sick feeling settled in my stomach. Reaching down, I grabbed the obsidian blade and held it tight. Okay, maybe this wasn't the strongest idea. Damon barked a short, harsh laugh. No shit. My lips twitched as I glanced in the rearview mirror. So, they're not living with your... There was a shadow there that looked more solid than the rest. It moved through the air, thick like oil, slipping over the trees, spreading across the ground. Tendrils reached the back of the car, sliding over the trunk. My throat dried, lips parted. The blade warmed in my hand. Damon? What? My heart thudded. I think the automatic locks unlocked on my drive, and my driver's door flew open. A scream came out. 1 second I was holding the phone, and the next I was flying to the ground. My fingers almost losing their grip on the blade. Pain shot through my arm and side as I hit the blade behind me. Sorry, hid, not hit. I lifted my eyes. My gaze traveled over black pants and the edges of a leather jacket. Pale face, strong jaw, and a pair of sunglasses covered the eyes, even though it was night. Baruch smiled. We meet again. Shit, I whispered. Tell me, he said, bending down and lifting a strand of my hair. His head swiveled to the side as he talked, moving back and forth like a bird. Where is he? I swallowed thickly as I scrambled back across the ground. Who? You're going to play dumb with me? He stepped forward and removed his sunglasses, slipping them inside his jacket. His eyes were black orbs. Or are all humans just so stupid? My chest rose and fell sharply. The blade was only good in his true form, and it was burning through the leather, stinging my hand. I want the one who killed my brothers. Damon. My entire body was shaking. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. And you killed one of them, protecting him. He flickered out, and there was my chance. But before I could move, he solidified in front of me. Take me to him, or I'll make you beg for death. I shook my head, tightening my hand. Screw you. He faded out, becoming a mass of dark and twisted shadows. Lunging to my feet, I let out a battle-worthy scream and swung my arm around, aiming for the center of the black goo. The blade burned bright, the color of hot coals. My jab never landed. A smoky hand caught my arm. The touch was bone-chillingly cold. His voice was an insidious whisper among my thoughts, like a snake slithering inside my head. Do you think I'd fall for that? Please. He twisted. I heard a crack before I felt the pain. My fingers twitched, and the blade fell to the ground, shattering into a dozen shards, like nothing more than fragile glass. I screamed as a wave of pain crippled me. That was from my brother. A shadowy hand circled my neck and lifted me off my feet. And this is because you annoy me. Baruch threw me backward. I hit the ground hard and then slid several feet through trampled corn. Stunned, I stared up at the pitch-black night sky. Tell me where he is. Gasping for air, I rolled onto my feet and took off for the trees. I ran, holding my arm protectively against my chest. I ran as fast as I could, my sneakers slipping against the hard-packed ground and crushing grass and fallen leaves. I didn't look back. Looking back would be bad. I tore through the woods, smacking at the low-hanging branches. Deja vu floated through me as I stumbled across exposed roots and the uneven ground. Baruch came out of nowhere, moving past in a blur of shadows. He solidified right in front of me, throwing me off. I skidded to a stop, spinning around. He was there too, and knocked me to the ground. Did you get it out of your system yet? A cruel smile formed on his lips. Or do you want to run more? I scrabbled across the dirt as I gulped in every ragged breath I could. The horror made it hard to gain any sense of control. I was out of time. Baruch lashed out. His arm didn't hit me, but I flung back and landed with a dull thud on the ground. The air knocked out of my lungs. Small rocks dug painfully through my jeans. He reached down, sinking his hand in my hair and coiling it around his fist. I bit down on my lips to stop from crying as he dragged me behind him. Material around my knees tore open. Pain radiated through me, threatening to consume me. I was sure he would pull every strand of hair while ripping the skin off my knees. He gave another painful yank, and I yelped. Oops. He stopped. I always forget how painfully frail your kind is. I don't want to accidentally pull your head off. He then laughed at his own remark. Not yet, at least. I grabbed his arms with my good hand, trying to lessen the pull, but it wasn't much help. He brought me into the path of branches, roots, and boulders. My muscles were screaming in protest, and I hunched over, beginning to feel dizzy and moments away from succumbing to the pain. How are you doing down there? He asked conversationally. Baruch abruptly pulled my head up. Sharp pain shot down my neck and back. Doing well, I see. He stopped, and I fell a small distance to the ground. We were near the edge of the woods again. He loomed over me. Tell me where he is. I put my skinned up hand on the ground, panting. No. His booted foot jerked up, slamming into my side. I knew something broke. Something pretty damn bad, because there was a wet warmth running under my shirt. Tell me. Wincing, I curled up. The coldness of his true form chilled my very soul. He came closer. There are worse things than what is physical. Perhaps that will motivate you. Baruch grabbed me by the throat again, lifting me onto the tips of my toes. He leaned in and roughly pulled me against him. His face was inches from mine, consuming my world. I can take your essence, drain you until your heart stops. It does nothing for me, but just imagine the slow, unending pain. Tell me where he is. I wasn't brave, but I wasn't going to turn Damon over to him. If Baruch defeated him, he'd go off to D-Nex. I'd never be able to live with myself. I wasn't that weak of a person. I wasn't a liability out here. I said nothing. He pulled back and shoved his hand into my midsection. I could feel it, his shadowy hand inside me, turning every cell cold. The small space of air between us constricted and pulled. The air in my lungs came out in a painful rush. Just like that, I could no longer breathe. My lungs seized as he continued to breathe in my air. The burning in my throat and lungs turned quickly into a scorching fire, as sharp pain radiated out over every limb. Every cell in my body screamed, begged for relief, and in protest as my heart stuttered abnormally. It wasn't precious oxygen that he stole from me, but the very energy that kept me alive. I was losing strength, fast, and the panic that was consuming me hadn't helped. My hands were numb, and my one good arm hung limply at my side. Everything slowed, and the pain dulled a little. I vaguely felt his hand leave my throat, but I couldn't move. His powers had me hooked to him as he fled. He said something, but I could no longer distinguish the words. I was so tired, so heavy, and the only fiery pain in the pit of my stomach kept me from slipping away. My eyes drifted shut of their own accord, and I felt him take another heavy inhale, and the pain fled again. Something happened within me, like a cord stretched too thin. It broke and recoiled with relentless speed. A flash of bright, pale blue light exploded behind my closed lids, and I was momentarily blinded. A roaring sound invaded my ears. Death had come for me. Death sounded painful, angry, and desperate, not peaceful. I thought that was unfair. After all that had happened, couldn't death have welcomed me with warm arms and visions of my dad waiting for me? Without warning, a figure crashed into us and sent me spiraling to the ground in a messy heap. With intense effort, I peeled my eyes open and saw him crouched like an animal in front of me. Damon growled in fury as he rose, standing over me like an avenging angel, swathed in light. Words. Whew, we're getting there. 29. I feel like I need a drink. I feel like I need to stretch my legs. My knee has been bent for the entire time. And it just needs a good stretch. I'm saying, fam. Look, we're up to chapter 29. I said I would finish the book tonight, and there's not that many pages left if I read at a bit of a faster pace, like I did yesterday. I think I read pretty fast yesterday. Anywho, I just need to have a drink. I also feel like I haven't been breathing properly this whole time. We always have a party with you, never a dull moment. That's so lovely. Thank you. You're driving. Hello. Hello from Sydney. I'm also in Sydney. Thanks, guys. You guys are always so lovely. I'm just here, I don't know, making an ass of myself. But everyone is always so nice. Okay, chapter 29. Baruch's mad laughter echoed and bounced around my skull. You've come to die with her. Perfect. This makes this so much easier, because I think I might have broken her. Thank you. Aw, thanks for the award. Very sweet of you. This makes this so much easier, because I think I might have broken her. Damon shadowed Baruch's wild movements, fading out and taking his true form. The form he could be killed in. She tastes good too. Different somehow, he taunted. Not like a Luxon, but still worth it in the end. Guys, so many things. I would like to get my mind out of the gutter so that I could read this and not just make everything into something it's not. Anyway, not going to happen. Launching himself at Baruch, Damon threw him several feet away with one powerful blast of light from an outstretched arm. I'm going to kill you. Baruch rolled over onto his back, nearly choking with laughter. You think you can take me, Luxon? I have devoured those stronger than you. Damon's howl of anger drowned out whatever else Brooke might have said, and he sent another blast of light at him. I felt the ground beneath me tremble as I managed to raise myself up onto my elbows. Each moment, no matter how small, sent sharp stings all through me. I could feel my heartbeat, the struggle behind it. Streaks of light danced within the darkness of the arum. They exchanged blows without even touching one another. Bright orangey balls of fire formed on the tips of Damon's hands, and they shot out past Baruch, fizzling out before they slammed into trees. The world turned amber and gold. Heat flew back at me. Embers cracked in the air, fading before hitting the ground. Each strike set the ground into motion, knocking me back down, face first, into the damp, itchy grass. I love how it's just like, the grass was damp and itchy. With a grunt. Pushing myself up, I saw a streak of light moving over the field, much like a falling star, but shooting across the ground at a dizzying speed. The light shot between Damon and Baruch, fizzing out as it reached me. Warm hands gripped my shoulders and lifted me. Katie, talk to me, Dee begged. Please talk to me. Nothing happened when I tried to talk. No words came out. Oh my God. Dee was crying, her tears falling from her beautiful face and landing on my nearly silent chest. She pulled me into her thin arms as she screamed for her twin. Damon turned from the battle at the same time Baruch did. With one look, a bolt of darkness shot straight for us, knocking Dee back. She screamed out in pain and rolled to her knees. She looked up, her eyes glowing in intense white. She rose to a crouch, her human form fading into crackling light. Damon struck back harder, and the ground rumbled. Baruch dodged Damon's attack and went after Dee. Screaming in fury, she rushed Baruch. He caught her again. For a second, darkness swallowed her, and then she crumbled to the ground in a twitching heap. Damon charged Baruch, tackling him to the ground in a rage that was so potent it fueled everything around him, from the branches that shook to the dead leaves falling like macabre rain to the ground beneath me. The air crackled with power. I felt it in my bones. Groaning, I staggered to my feet and sucked in a breath. I wasn't going out this way. My friends weren't going out like this. Dee was on her feet, flickering in and out. Blood trickled from her nose. She shook her head and stumbled forward. I saw what was going to happen next through a very narrow lens. I'm sorry, I keep catching myself like starting to read the next word before I've even finished the word beforehand, if you get what I mean. I'm reading it faster than I'm saying it. So it just gets a bit jumbled up. I'm sorry. So that's why I keep kind of repeating words. My apologies. Speed reading, exactly. I saw what was going to happen next through a very narrow lens. Things seemed to slow down. I rushed forward as Damon glanced over his shoulder at his sister. Baruch pulled his arm back, preparing another stream of matter. The image of the tree snapping in half along the road flashed before me. Rushing forward, I crashed into the light that was Dee. The moment Baruch released a blast of energy. Darkness surrounded me, and I heard a scream, a piercing scream that wasn't mine. And then I was flying, really flying. The sky was rolling stars and darkness over and over. The entire world shimmered. I hit the ground hard, already knowing it was too late. A body crashed next to mine. A limp, slender arm fell against mine. Dee. I hadn't been quick enough. The arm warmed against mine, becoming less solid. Her light cast upon me, so cut through me like 1,000 double-edged razor blades. She wasn't moving, but I could see her chest moving, slow and shallow. Distracted, Damon turned and made a fatal mistake. You're getting killed, Ashad said. Baruch reared his arm back, and his blast caught Damon in his back. He went up, spiraling through the air, flickering in and out of human form. He landed only a foot from us. Brooke laughed and shifted into his shadowy form. 3 for 1 special. Tears burned my eyes as my cheek nestled against the damp grass. Damon tried to sit up, but he collapsed onto his back, his face contorting in pain. It's over. All of you will die. Baruch advanced. Damon turned his head toward me. Our eyes locked. There was so much regret in that one look. His face faded out, blurred and unrecognizable. He couldn't hold his human form. Seconds later, he was in his true form, the shape of a man encased in the most beautifully intense light. Sorry, I had to burp, as always. One arm extended out toward me, forming fingers. Heartbreaking, I reached out and my fingers disappeared in his light. Warmth encircled my fingers, the slightest pressure of Damon's hand wrapping around mine. He squeezed as if to reassure me, and a sob caught in my throat. Damon's light flickered, but continued climbing up my arm, wrapping me in intense heat, like the day of the first Aram attack. In the wake of his warmth, my body began knitting itself back together. Damon was using the last of his strength to save me. How heroic! No, I shouted, but it came out no more than a hoarse whisper. Sorry, when I read hoarse whisper, it's like because her voice is hoarse. But then I started thinking about horses whispering and what that would sound like. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm like this. I tried to pull my hand away, but Damon refused to let go. And he didn't know what I did. And he didn't know what I did. I was too hurt to be saved. He should have taken the last of his strength to save himself or save Dee. I pleaded with him, with my eyes, but he squeezed my hand tighter. This wasn't fair. It wasn't right. They didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve this. Pain and hatred welled in me. I would die. My friends would die. My mother would be lost. And Damon. I couldn't even understand the purpose behind all of this. The Aram's greed for power. Was it all worth these lives? The injustice of it all tore at me, and a surge of energy that came from deep inside me jolted through my body. I wasn't going to die like this. Neither were Damon and Dee. Not in some podunk field in a in bumfuck West Virginia. Using the strength Damon had given me, I pushed myself to sit up and grab Dee's heated arm. Keeping a hold of Damon, willing them to get up, willing them to fight. Baruch moved toward Damon's light. Of course, he'd take him out first, the most powerful. He'd been tweaking for hours. Oh, bro, he's tweaking. He'd been tweaking for hours. I wasn't even a blip on his radar at this point. Damon's hand spasmed, and his light flared as the edge of Baruch's shadow rippled over him. And something unexpected happened. A pulse of light went through him, shining so bright that I winced. It arced high in the air, crackling and spitting. It found its other half, recognizing the form beside me. The same was happening with Dee's light, even though she was unconscious. Her light blazed, connected with Damon's. Baruch's shadow halted. The arc of light pulsed above and shot down, right into the center of my chest. The impact felt like it sent me deep into the ground, but I was lifted off the ground, hair flying out around me. Power built between the three of us. It sparked, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw both of them return to human form. Dee slumped on the ground, moaning softly. Damon pushing to his knees, turning toward me. But I was hovering. At least, that's how it felt. I didn't concentrate on that, or even what Damon was doing. It was only Baruch and me. I wanted him to go away, to disappear. I wanted this very presence wiped clean from this earth. I wished for it more than anything I'd ever desired. Every fiber of my being was centered on him. I pulled everything within me, every fear, every tear I'd shed for Dad, and every moment in my life where I was a bystander. Power coiled inside me, wrapped through my very core. With a wild battle cry, I let it go. The cord snapped, and the recoil occurred outside of me. The sky above us erupted in white lightning. I felt it leave, and I heard the old trees around us creak and groan as it rushed over them. The strong oaks, with no place to hide, bent to its power. The flash of light followed true to its target, washed through Damon and Dee, and slammed Baruch in the chest. His shadow form jerked. There was a loud snapping sound, and the light exploded once more, enveloping him completely. Damon stumbled backwards and shielded himself from the explosion. The light flared, then quickly receded, and without a single word, Baruch was no more. Damon slowly lowered his arm and stared blankly at the empty spot. He turned towards me, his voice barely a whisper. Cat? I was on my back before I realized it. The dark sky above began to blur. I didn't know what happened or what I did, but I could feel the power as it slipped out of me, and along with it, something more important. I felt nothing, and let out a tired breath. It made this rattling sound that I knew should concern me, but I didn't think to care. There was this darkness again, a different kind than the Arams. This was softer, numbing. Damon fell to his knees beside me, pulling me into his strong, solid arms. Cat, say something insulting. Come on. Off in the distance, I could hear Dee stirring and rising to her feet, panic filling her voice. Without a glance back, Damon gently moved his fingers over my face and spoke. Dee, go back to the house now. Get Adam. He's out there somewhere. Dee's arms were wrapped around her waist, and she was bent at an angle that alluded to a cracked rib or two. I don't want to leave. She's bleeding. We have to get her to a hospital. I was bleeding? I hadn't known. I felt wetness on my face, under my lips, my nose, and there was a strange dampness around my eyes, but it didn't hurt. Was I crying? Was it blood? I could feel Damon around me, but it all seemed far away. Go back to the house now, Damon yelled, and his grip around me tightened, but his voice softened. Please, leave us. Go. She's okay. She just needs a minute. Such a damn liar. I wasn't okay. Damon turned his back to her, pushing the tangled waves of hair out of my face. Only after she'd left did he speak softly to me. Cat, you're not going to die. Don't move or do anything. Just relax and trust me. Don't fight what's about to happen. I watched as Damon lowered his head. He rested his forehead against mine. His form faded out, and he slipped into his true body. My eyes fluttered shut against the intensity of his light. The heat was almost too much. I was too close to it. Hold on. Don't let go. His voice came through. Just hold on. I felt myself sink deeper, and his hand cradled my head. Damon exhaled, long and steady against my lips. Warmth spread from him to me, slowing down my throat. Slowly moving down my... I skipped like 3 words. Slowly moving down my throat and into my lungs, filling me with such glorious heat that I knew there was no better way than to let go than this. Sorry, I got really distracted. I could just hear people outside the window. And then my brain was like off in that world, trying to figure out what was going on out there, and then also attempting to read, and it didn't work very well. Apologies. Like a balloon that was slowly being inflated, I began to rise. My lungs filled as his heat spread through every vein, and my fingers began to tingle. The pressure in my head subsided. I swam in the intoxicating feeling that inundated me. My senses started to process the things around me again, and I was no longer in this numb and dim world. He continued until I was able to move in his arms. I pulled myself up, gripping his arms, following him out of the dark abyss. I reached for him blindly. My lips brushed his, and my world exploded in feeling. They shifted until I was able to comprehend and make some sense of it. and they weren't mine, not entirely. What am I doing? If they find out what I've done, but I can't lose her. I can't. I gasped for air, floored by the knowledge that I was hearing Damon's thoughts. He was talking to me, not like before, when he was in his true form. This was different, like his thoughts and feelings were dancing around mine. Fear beat me as did something softer, even more powerful than fear. Please, I can't lose you. Please open your eyes. Please don't leave me. I'm here. I opened my eyes. I'm here. Damon jerked back, the light fading slowly, slipping out of me, over my skin and back into him. Cat, he whispered, sending shivers through me. He sat back, with me still nestled against his chest. I felt his heart thunder violently, beating at the same rate as mine, in perfect sync. Everything around us seemed clearer. Damon, what did you do? You need to rest, he paused, his voice throaty, weary. You're not 100%, and it'll take a couple of minutes, I think. I haven't healed anything on this level before. You did at the library, I murmured, and at the car, his head lowered against mine. That was just to help with the sprain and bruises. That was nothing like this. His arm that had been broken didn't even ache as I lifted it. I turned my head toward him, my cheek brushing his. I stared in amazement at the bent trees that folded around us in a perfect circle. My gaze fell to the ground and settled on the space Baruch once stood. The only trace of him was the scorched earth he left behind. How did I do that? I whispered. I don't understand. He buried his head in the crook of my neck, breathing in deeply. I must have done something to you when I healed you. I don't know what, it doesn't make sense, but something happened when our energies joined. It shouldn't have affected you. You're human. I was beginning to wonder about that. Are you feeling sleepy? Sorry. My brain is so fried. I literally read 2 different sentences, but as one. Anyway, I will start that again. I know. I'm like, far out. What is the time? It's only 8 o'clock. No, it's 9 o'clock. Okay. God, we're so close. We're so close. Okay. How are you feeling? He asked. Okay. Sleepy. You? The same. This is like my life. This is like my conversation between me and my boyfriend. How are you feeling? Okay. Sleepy. You? The same. I watched in silence as his curious eyes followed his thumb over my chin, and he traced along my lower lip. I think, for now, it would be best if we kept this between ourselves. The whole healing thing and what you did back there, okay? I nodded, but stilled as his hands drifted around my face, removing the smudges our battle had left behind. A tumble of black waves shifted over his forehead, and a smile spread across his face, reaching his eyes, deepening them into a brilliant green. His fingers splayed across my cheeks, and his head slanted. I couldn't help but think of what I'd overheard as his mouth brushed against mine. There was an infinitely tender quality to his soft kiss. It reached deep inside me, sending my heart into overdrive. It was innocent, intimate, soul-burning as he tipped my head back and explored my lips as if it were the first time we kissed. And maybe it was a real kiss. When he finally pulled back, I laughed unsteadily. I was worried that we'd broken you. He laughed unsteadily. Sorry, I did that thing again. I was worried we'd broken you. Not quite. My gaze moved over every inch of his weary face. Did you break yourself? He snorted. Almost. I took a breath, a little dizzy. What now? A slow, tired smile pulled at his lips. We go home. Okay, we're so close. Chapter 30. I can do this, guys. I believe in myself to finish this tonight. Loving the story time. Aw, thank you. You're welcome. I'm trying not to be completely shit at this, but I am like doing a weird thing where I'm just like jumping between sentences and words and skipping words and stuff. Excuse me. I swear, like, I don't know what's happening. We can finish this tonight. Will you be dating Bill Gates? You asked me that the other night, which I don't understand. You are doing good. Aw, thanks, TJ. Okay, chapter 30. It literally hurt deep inside, not being able to post, waiting on Wednesday. But I still had several weeks before my birthday. And even though Dee would let me borrow her computer, I didn't want to use it for that. Pouting, I grabbed a can of soda out of Dee's fridge and went back to the living room. Aliens sure eat a lot of food. Do you want more pizza? Dee offered, staring at the last slice, with such longing that I was beginning to think that she and Adam needed to reevaluate their relationship. I shook my head. Dee had eaten enough to feed a small starving village, and frankly, I wasn't hungry. Eating while Dee and Adam stared at me was getting tedious and uncomfortable. Dee didn't think I'd noticed, and Adam was currently on pause from asking another question about what happened the night with Brooke. As far as everyone knew, Damon had killed Brooke, and I hadn't been injured as badly as Dee had thought. Somehow, Damon had convinced her that I was just stunned. I peeked at them. But it had been me. I killed someone. Again. Surprisingly, the thought didn't fill me with the same amount of dread and sickness as it initially did. She's becoming a murderer. She's got the taste of blood. Over the last couple of days, I'd come to a certain understanding with my actions. It was a level of shaky acceptance that made it easier to swallow, even if I could never forget. It was either him or me and my friends. The alien asshat had to go. Everyone was still staring. Lovely. Dee sat down next to me and took a sip of her soda. Convinced or not, Dee knew something was up when I returned with Damon that morning, and something was. She nudged my leg with hers, gaining my attention. Are you feeling okay? If I had $1 for every time she asked that question, I'd have a new laptop already. It wasn't like I didn't know how lucky I was to be alive, and I should be suffering from post-traumatic stress. But I did feel fine. I never felt physically better, to be honest. I felt like I could go out and run a marathon or climb a mountain. I didn't want to look into the reason for that too closely. Enough things had already successfully freaked me out. Someone cleared his throat, jarring me out of my thoughts. I looked up to see Dee and Adam staring at me expectantly. I couldn't remember what they wanted. What? Dee smiled a little too brightly. We were wondering how you were handling things, if you were worried about there being more Aram. Oh, do you think there will be? I immediately responded. No, Adam reassured me. Ever since the battle with Brooke, he actually started talking to me. It was a nice change. It was nice changing things. Ash and Andrew were a different story. We don't think so. I shifted uncomfortably, and my skin itched. I wasn't sure how long I could sit here with them staring at me, like I was an experiment gone wrong. I thought you said Damon would be back soon. Adam settled in the recliner. Dee's eyes shifted from Adam to me. Damon should be here any minute. I hadn't seen Damon since that morning. I asked Dee several times where he'd gone, but she never answered me. Eventually, I gave up pestering her. The two of them started talking, making plans for Thanksgiving break coming in a few weeks. I zoned out, like I'd been doing for the last 3 days. It was strange. I couldn't concentrate. I felt off, like I was missing a part of me. Warmth slipped over my skin like a warm breeze. It came out of nowhere. I looked up, seeing if anyone else noticed what I'd felt. They were still talking. I shifted on the couch as the feeling increased. Dee's front door opened, and my breath caught in my throat. Within seconds, Damon entered the room. His hair was a tousled mess, and there were shadows under his eyes. Without saying a word, he dropped onto the couch, his heavy lashes hiding his eyes, but I could feel his stare. Where have you been? I asked in a voice that sounded shrill to my own ears. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to say this in a shrill way, apparently. Sorry, it's too late for me to be shrill. Silence fell while two more sets of beautifully odd eyes settled on me. I felt my cheeks turn hot, and I leaned back, feeling like an idiot. I folded my hands and kept my eyes pinned to them. What a way to draw attention to myself. Well, hello, honey. I've been boozing. I've been out boozing and whoring. I know, my priorities are pretty off. My lips thinned at his sarcastic response. Dick, I muttered. Dee groaned. Damon, don't be a jerk. Yes, Mummy, I've been with another group searching the whole damn state to make sure there aren't any Aram that we're not aware of. Damon said, his deep voice soothing a weird ache within me at the same time. And at the same time, I wanted to thump him upside the head. Adam leaned forward. There aren't any, right? Because we told Katie she didn't have anything to worry about. His eyes left me briefly. We haven't seen a single one. Dee hooted happily and clapped her hands. She turned to me, her smile genuine this time. See? Nothing to worry about. Everything is over. I smiled back at her. That is a relief. I heard Adam talking to Damon about his trip, but it was hard to pay attention. I closed my eyes. Every cell in my body was aware of him, like that day in my living room, but on a different level. Katie, are you even here right now? I think so. I forced a smile for Dee's sake. Have you guys been driving her crazy? Damon asked, sighing, bombarding her with a million questions. Never, cried Dee. Then she laughed. Okay, maybe. Figured, Damon muttered, stretching out his long legs. Unable to stop myself, I turned toward him. Our eyes locked. The air between us seemed to stretch with heat and electricity. The last time I'd seen him, we'd been kissing, and I had no idea where that left us. Dee shifted next to me, clearing her throat. I'm still hungry, Adam. He laughed. You're worse than I am. True. Dee hopped to her feet. Let's go to Smoke Hole. I think they're having homemade meatloaf. She edged around me, leaning down, and gave Damon a peck on the cheek. Glad you're back. I've missed you. Damon smiled up at his sister. Miss you too. When the door shut behind Dee and Adam, I let out a breath I'd been holding. Is everything really okay? I asked. For the most part. He reached out with one hand, running his fingers over my cheek. Damon sucked in a sharp breath. Hell. What? He sat up and scooted closer, his legs pressing against mine. I have something for you. Not what I was expecting. Is it going to blow up in my face? Leaning back, I'm not even going to. Leaning back, he chuckled and reached into the front pocket of his jeans. I'm sorry. He pulled out a small leather pouch and handed it to me. Curious, I pulled on the little string and carefully emptied the pouch into my palm. I glanced up, and when he smiled, I felt my heart turn over. It was a piece of obsidian, about 3 inches long, polished, and shaped into a pendant. The glass was shiny black. It seemed to hum against my skin, cool to the touch. The silver chain it hung from was delicate, spiraling over the top of the pendant. The other edge was sharpened into a fine point. Believe it or not, Damon said, even something as small as that can actually pierce Aram skin and kill them. When it gets really hot, you'll know an Aram is nearby, even if you don't see one. He carefully picked up the chain, holding the clasps. It took me forever to find a piece like this, since that blade turned to crap. I don't want you to take this off, okay? At least when, well, for the most part. Shocked. I pulled my hair out of the way and twisted it around, letting him hook the necklace around my neck. Once it was clasped, I faced him. Thank you. I mean it. For everything. It's not a big deal. Has anyone asked you about your trace? I shook my head. I think they're expecting to see one because of all the fighting. Damon nodded. Hell, you're bright as a comet right now. The sucker has got to fade, or we'll be back to square one. A slow heat built inside me. Not the good kind. And what is square one exactly? You know, us being stuck together until the damn trace fades. His gaze, his gaze flickered away. Stuck together, my hands dug into my denim-clad knees. After everything I've done, us being around each other is still being stuck together? Damon shrugged. You know what? Screw you, buddy. Because of me, Brooke didn't find your sister. Because of what I did, I almost died. You healed me, that's why I have a trace. None of this is my fault. And it's mine? Should I have left you to die? His eyes burned now, like emerald pools. Is that what you wanted? That's a stupid question. I don't regret that you healed me, but I'm not dealing with this hot and cold shit from you anymore. Yes, girl. I do believe you protest too much with the whole liking me part. A wry grin twisted his lips. Someone sounds like they're trying to convince themselves. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. As much as it bothered me to say this, because there was a part of me that wanted him. I did. I think it would be best if you'd stay away from me. No can do. Any of the other Luxon can watch over me, or whatever, I protested. It doesn't have to be you. His eyes met mine. You're my responsibility. I'm nothing to you. You're definitely something. My palms itched to have a close encounter of the bitch slap kind with his face. I dislike you so very much. No, you don't. Okay, we need to get this trace off me. Now. A wicked smile played over his lips. Maybe we can try making out again. See what that'll do to this trace. It seemed to work last time. My body liked the idea. I, however, did not. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It was just a suggestion. One that will never happen. I bit out each word deliberately. Again. Don't act like you didn't have as much fun. I smacked him in the chest, hard. He only laughed, and I started to push off. But, wait. I pressed my hands against his chest as I stared at him. Damon arched a brow. Are you filling me up, Cat? I'm liking where this is heading. I was. Nice chest and all, but that wasn't the point. His heart beat against my palm, a strong tempo that was slightly accelerated. Thump, thump, thump. I placed my other hand against my own chest. Thump, thump, thump. I started to feel dizzy. Our heartbeats, they're the same. Both of our hearts were racing now, completely synchronized. How is this possible? Damon started to look pale. Oh, crap. My lashes lifted. Our eyes locked. The air seemed to spark around us, filled with tension. Oh, crap indeed. He placed his hand over mine and squeezed. But it's not too bad. I mean, I'm pretty sure I morphed you into something, and this whole heart thing proves we must be connected, he grinned. Could be worse. What could be worse exactly? I asked, stunned. Us being together, he shrugged. It could be worse. Part of me wasn't sure I'd heard him right. Wait a sec. You think we should be together because of some kind of freaky alien mojo that has connected us? But 2 minutes ago, you were bitching about being stuck with me. Yeah, well, I wasn't bitching. I was pointing out that we are stuck together. This is different. And you're attracted to me. My eyes narrowed. I'll get back to that last statement in a second. But you want to be with me because you now feel forced? I wouldn't say forced exactly, but I like you. I stared at him. It was all too easy to recall what I'd overheard when he'd healed me. Part of me had thought that maybe what he'd felt was real, but maybe it was the product of whatever the hell he'd done. That made sense, considering what he was saying. Damon frowned. Oh no, I know that look. What are you thinking? This is the most ridiculous declaration of attention I've ever heard, I said, standing. That is so lame, Damon. You want to be with me because of whatever crazy stuff had happened. He rolled his eyes as he stood. We like each other. We do. It's stupid that we keep denying it. Oh? And this is coming from the dude who left me on the couch, topless? I shook my head. We don't like each other. Okay, I should probably apologize for that. I'm sorry. Damon took a step forward. We were attracted to each other before I healed you. You can't say that's not true because I've always been attracted to you. Oh, sorry, my foot is going dead. Oh no, I have pins and needles. This is bad. Okay. I took a step back. Being attracted to me is as lame a reason to be with me as the fact that we're stuck together now. Push through the pain. I am pushing through the pain. Like, I'm loving this. I'm having a good time. I'm having fun. But, like, I really just want to go out and have a cigarette. Like, oh, come on. Oh, you know it's more than that. He paused. I knew you would be trouble from the start. Okay, Taylor Swift. From the moment you knocked on my door. Sorry. Sometimes I wonder, when I interject myself reading, like, I wonder how much of that. You know what? You guys probably aren't listening anyway. So, you know what? Don't even worry about it. I'll just keep reading. I laughed dryly. That thought is definitely mutual, but doesn't excuse the split personality thing you've got going on. Shut up. You're only half listening? Oh, you're listening? That's okay. It's just like good white noise, I guess. Or maybe bad white noise. I always make Yo, what's up, Thrawn? Do you only half full play? Dude, the second you come in here, every time. Okay. Where was I up to? Okay, you guys just talk amongst yourselves. Well, I was kind of hoping it did, but obviously not. He flashed a quick grin. Kat, I know you're attracted to me. I know you like. Being attracted to you isn't enough, I said. We get along. I gave him a bland look. Another flash of his teeth and lips spread. Sometimes we do. We have nothing in common, I protested. We have more in common than you realize. Whatever. Damon caught a piece of my hair and wrapped it around his finger. You know you want to. The memory of the sweet kiss we'd shared in the field returned. Frustrated, I snatched my hair back and focused. You don't know what I want. You have no clue. I want a guy who wants to be with me because he actually wants to be with me, not because he's forced out to be. Sorry, I'm trying to get a burp out, but also like not. And it's. I don't know why I've been stopping myself from burping. It's not good. Excuse me. Pardon me. I'm such a lady. Not that he's forced to be out of some kind of twisted sense of responsibility. Kat. No. I cut him off, balling my hands into fists. Come on, kitty cat, don't be a bystander. I wasn't going to be a bystander anymore, which meant not caving to Damon. Not when his reasons for wanting me was so lame. They made a top 10 list. No, sorry. You have spent months being the biggest jerk to me. You don't get to decide to like me one day and think I will forget all of that. I want someone to care for me, like my dad cared for my mum, and you aren't him. How can you know? His eyes flashed, turning them into brilliant jewels. Shaking my head, I turned toward the back door. Damon appeared in front of it, blocking my exit. God, I hate it when you do that. He didn't laugh or smile like he normally would. His eyes were wide and bright, consuming. You can't keep pretending that you don't want to be with me. I would try, even though deep down I didn't want to be with him. I did want to be with him, sorry. But I wanted him to want me. I want you to want me. Doodle-doodle. Okay. Not because we were stuck together, because somehow we were connected. I'd always liked the glimpse of the real him. That Damon I could be with, I could love. But that Damon never stayed around long. Pushed out by his never-ending duty to his family and race. Saddened by that, I pressed my lips together. I'm not pretending, I said. His eyes searched mine. You're lying. Damon. He placed his hands on my hips and tugged me forward carefully. His breath stirred the hair around my temple. If I wanted to be with, he started, his hands tightening. If I wanted to be with you, you'd make it hard, wouldn't you? I lifted my head. You don't want to be with me. His lips twitched into a smile. I'm thinking I kinda do. Parts of my body liked that. My chest swelled. Insides nodded. Thinking and kind of aren't the same thing as knowing. No, it's not, but it's something. His lashes lowered, shielding his eyes. Isn't it? I thought of the love my mom and dad had again. I pulled away, shaking my head. It's not enough. Damon's eyes met mine, and he sighed. You are going to make this hard. I didn't say anything. My heart was thumping as I sidestepped him and headed for the door. Cat. Drawing in a deep breath, I faced him. What? A smile parted his lips. You do realize I love a challenge. I laughed under my breath and turned back to the front door, giving him a one-fingered salute. So do I, Damon. So do I. And that's the end of the book. And there's some bonus materials, which we can read, but we're not going to read it now because I need a break. I've been talking for like 3 hours. Wait, when did I start? 7:30? 2 hours. Non-stop. I feel like I have earned a gold star. And by gold star, I mean a cigarette break. He must be running off to Ben Affleck. That Damon, truly, right, Mike? Like, whew, just, yes. It does kind of feel like it's been a while off. That's reassuring. Oh, thanks for the gold star. Yes, I am going to take a break. It is my Ziggy time. Lovely end. And oh, her and Matt Damon. Are we calling him Matt Damon now? You deserve your sheriff badge. No, it's a gold star, not a sheriff badge. But yes, I'm gonna get up. Didn't you say Matt Damon? No, the dude's name is Damon. His last name is Black. It was Thrawn, what are you on, mate? You're not on whatever I'm on. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining me this evening. We will at some point read the rest of the quote unquote bonus material. Yes, Damon the alien. I'm so glad you were following TJ. How very lovely of you. I feel acknowledged and appreciated. Okay, enjoy. I will see you guys soon. Thank you for sticking around. We made it through the first book, like within a few days. That's pretty crazy. Oh, well, I'm going to say like within a week. Just lots of hormones. Bye. Yes, thank you for joining me. I will see you guys soon.